Hello YouTube and welcome back to the Drunken Kobold. Today we are looking at the Domains of Delight, a Feywild accessory. This is an official Dungeons & Dragons product released by Wizards of the Coast and is a tie-in to the Wild Beyond the Witchlight adventure module. A fair comparison of what this product compares to is the first two chapters of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. If you took the player options from Wild Beyond the Witchlight, threw them in here, and then added a little bit more of a bestiary here, you had essentially a Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft Minor. This comes in at 36 pages, whereas the first two chapters of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft came in at, I believe, 52. 52 or 57, one or the other. But so this book basically gives you a complete overview of what the Feywild is, how it works, how magic there works, how weather there works, and how they are isolated from each other, much like the Domains of Dread. There is information on how to get guides for the Feywild, how the Fey look on outsiders, on people within their own domains, how gifts work for the Fey, how stealing from Fey works, how breaking contracts and making contracts happen. You got to remember, Fey are very, very mischievous creatures, and some of the stuff that they do borderlines on pure evil, to the point that Fae can even curse you, as you can see here now. And like, some of these are really cute. Like, here are some like fairy dragons lounging around the knot in a tree, and they've kind of made that their home. Chapter 2 is creating an archfey. Now, these two chapters here are all in one chapter in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft in terms of the Domains of Dread. You have your Domains of Dread overview, you have creating your own Dark Lord, and then you have creating your own Domain of Dread, so you can kind of guess where Chapter 3 is going with this. But in Chapter 2, there is what happens when you encounter Archfey, what are their personalities like, what are they obsessed with, what kind of magic do they use, what kind of gifts do they offer. There's some really, really interesting stuff here on creating your own Archfey, much similar to creating your own Dark Lord. And then going into what is Chapter 2 of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is creating your own Domain of Delight. Now, I feel like because of how much lore there is on the Feywild between the TSR era and the Wizards of the Coast era, that both the creating a Domain of Delight and creating an Archfey, those could have been fleshed out much, much better, but the information here is solid, it is presentable. At only 36 pages, though, I feel like this is something that could have been easily included in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But this was created as a tie-in product to raise money for Extra Life, which I find admirable, but we're going to get into why this was poorly executed. The content of this book, or this supplement, as you may say, is directly referenced in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. They have never done that before. They have never said, hey, here is our main series book, and in this book we're going to tell you about supplementary products and accessories to complement this. They don't even do that with main series books with this, where they're like, hey, this beast is from Volo's Guide to Monsters. You're going to need Volo's Guide to Monsters to get this. Hey, this is from Mordenkainen's. You're going to need Mordenkainen's to do that. They have always said if there is monsters that appear in supplementary bestiaries, like Volo's and Mordenkainen's, those monsters will feature in that campaign so that you don't need those two books. Now, books like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything specifically referenced things from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I believe Volo's Guide to Monsters in the Players section got some references too. And Sword's Coast Adventurer's Guide, as you know, had stuff reprinted. So Tasha's was one of those weird books where it mentioned previous books, but they were still main series titles. They were books that you could go into your friendly local game store and purchase and not necessarily need, though. As you don't need this to run Wild Beyond the Witchlight, the fact that it is specifically mentioned, particularly this chapter here, chapter 4, putting it all together, makes it that this is essentially DLC product. So looking at the product that is before me now, it is an $8 product that can only be found on the Dungeon Masters Guilds. This is not on D&D Beyond. I think the content in here is very much worth the $8, although it is still content that I feel could have been included in Wild Beyond the Witchlight without problems. Wild Beyond the Witchlight, adventure-wise, is actually very short. It is the shortest Dungeons & Dragons adventure to not have a follow-up book. So that is something to consider, is that some of this content would have been good to make Wild Beyond the Witchlight essentially Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft's counterpart, but instead this is meant to serve as Van Richten's counterpart, like Wild Beyond the Witchlight is a counterpart to Curse of Strahd, an adventure in the setting without being a setting book itself. Now, this has changed how I am going to be approaching 5th edition for the future. I think that this creates a dangerous precedent for Wizards of the Coast. Yes, this was done for charity, and its intentions, while understandable and good, are easily going to be looked at from higher ups as something that could be used to make profit in the future. If this sells well, and from my understanding it has, there is nothing from Wizards of the Coast releasing something and saying, hey, this is a tie-in to Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Yes, this isn't mentioned in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, but it really adds on the lore that we established in this book. It really adds on the bestiary that we established in this book. And then the next book that comes out that isn't a Magic the Gathering tie-in, hey, we have this product on the DM's Guild. We're going to specifically reference it in this book so that people have to go get it to get the full product. And next time it might not be for charity. It may be strictly for profit. And then it may not even be, oh, this is extra content that we're going to reference but you don't need. This is content that you need but we are not including. And I wouldn't put it above Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast has already proven with Magic the Gathering that they are money hungry and that they are releasing suboptimal products to a player base in the attempt to sell more. This has changed how I approach 5th edition. I have sold all of my 5th edition hardcovers that aren't collector's books. My collector's books are still safely on my bookshelf in the back there, but from this point on, everything I am getting is digital. I am reinvesting in my whole collection in D&D Beyond, and I am getting all the tie-ins from Dungeon Masters Guild. I've been getting a lot of the tie-ins already, but I am prepared for Wizards of the Coast to eventually say, we are releasing a lot of the excess content for these books and the extra content for these books as digital, and I want to have everything in one place. Wizards of the Coast has already said that, in 3 years, we're getting the next evolution of Dungeons & Dragons. It's not specifically a 5.5, but it's also not a 6e. It's compatible with 5e. So I don't know how much of that is going to be digital, but considering that this seems like Wizards of the Coast testing the waters for digital content, I am preemptively setting up digital content with Dungeons & Dragons, and then my physical content that I buy is just going to be my collector's books. So all in all, the content that is in this supplement, it's great content. It could have been included in the main book, but I see why it wasn't. I feel it could have been more developed on. There is a lot of rich lore that between Wild Beyond the Witchlight and Domains of Delight, a Feywild accessory, is missing from the game. And I feel like that this could have expanded more and have truly been a counterpart to Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. It's pleasing to the eye. Like, a lot of this is very, very well done art. And it doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look thrown together by fans. It looks professionally done. So I have to say that it's something that Wizards of the Coast put the effort into, but I think the execution of it is kind of sloppy. It's affordable, it's $8, and it's digital, so you don't have to worry about losing copies. You can print as many copies as you want and hand them out to your players if you so desire. But I think it's a solid 7 out of 10 supplementary product. It could have had more lore. It could have been included in the main book, but I am giving most of the points off because it worries me about how 5th edition is going to be approached in the future. Have you had a chance to look at Domains of Delight? What do you think of the content in this supplement? Do you agree with my assessment that it may be Wizards of the Coast testing Digital Waters for DLC content? Let me know in the comments down below. If you feel I deserved it, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And in the meantime, cheers and may the rolls be with you.